Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra Semester 1 Review Packet. Now, we've already done Unit 1, so now we're on Unit 2. This is graphing linear equations. So, the directions for the first part say that we need to match the equation with the correct slope and description. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. My slope for our first equation, well, it tells us right away that our slope is -2. So on the right-hand side, which one is -2? Yeah, it's f. So our slope is f. Now the description. Well, the description, it's either going to be a vertical line, it's going to be diagonal, or it's horizontal. Because B and C are both slopes. So, well, it's not a vertical line. And I know for a fact it's not horizontal because those are special cases. Okay? So the only thing that's left means that this is a diagonal line. Now, the reason why it's a diagonal line, as we've talked about it, is it has two variables. Two variables mean that we're going to have a diagonal line. Okay? All right. Next one. Y equals 3. Now, it's not in y equals mx plus b. This is a special case. And this is what we told you guys that you need to memorize, okay? When it's a y equals, you should know that the slope is, that's right, the slope is 0, okay? And anytime your slope is 0, sorry, I forgot to cross those out, it is a horizontal line, okay? When it's y equals, you should know right away that it's horizontal. Just like when you have an x equals, you should know that that is a, whoops, vertical line. Okay, so vertical was A, that's our description, and all vertical lines have an undefined slope. Okay, those are things that you just need to memorize or put them on your note card. All right, let's turn it over. Now, the directions say that we need to graph each line using the method described. Okay, so each one's going to have a slightly different way that we're going to graph. But the key thing is that we're graphing. So you need to have a what? That's right, you need to have a ruler. All right. So the first one says that we need to graph using the x and y intercepts. Okay? And remember, when it ends in PT, that we're talking about points. Okay? So when we're doing the x and y intercept, we're going to solve this equation 2 times. Oops. Okay, and 1 time, I'm going to let x equal 0, and the other time we're going to let y equal 0. And that's where we're going to get our 2 points from. Okay? So I already know that y is 0 there, and I already know that x is 0 down there. So let's do the top. -12 times 0 is 0, and we're left with -3x equaling 24. To get the x by itself, I'm going to divide by 3, and I get that x equals -8. Okay, and we're going to solve doing the same thing over here. We get -12y equals 24, and to get the y by itself, we're going to divide by -12. And we get that y equals -2. Okay, so now that we know that, we need to graph those points. So we know that the x-intercept is -8, 0. the y-intercept is 0, -2. And then once we've got that, we're going to draw our line. So I'm using my ruler right now to line everything up and to draw my line. And that we know that every line has to have arrows. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So our next one, number 11, is saying that we need to graph using the slope-intercept form. Well, slope-intercept form, in case you've forgotten, is y equals mx plus b. So we need to get the y all by itself. So I'm just going to rewrite it over here. And then now we're going to start showing our work. So I want to get the y by itself. So the first thing that I'm going to do is add 2x to both sides. And we get that 5y equals 2x minus 20. Okay, the y is not alone yet, so we're going to divide everything by 5. Now remember, when we're dealing with slope, that we want fractions. So we get y equals 2/5 x minus 4. And this is important because now I know that my slope is 2/5 and that my y-intercept is -4. Okay? The m is our movement. Okay? And the b is where we begin. Okay? So, here we go. I'm going to start this graph at 0, -4. And our movement tells me that I need to go up 2 and to the right 5. Okay? And then I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go up 2 to the right 5. And now I'm going to do the same thing in the opposite direction. And now I've got all my points. When I've got all my points, I can draw my line. And I'm using my straight edge right now, kind of rolling everything up, lining everything up. And the last thing I'm going to do is to add my lines so I don't get any points taken off. Now, real quick, on your graphing calculator, to make sure that you graphed it right, I'm going to go to y equals, I'm going to put in 2/5 x minus 4, and I'm going to hit graph. And now I can prove that I just did the right work. Okay? All right, so graph each line and identify its slope. This is why it's very important to know your definitions, okay? So on the other side, we just talked about how x equals, if it's an x equals, that's going to give us a vertical line, okay? And vertical lines all have a undefined slope, okay? You just need to memorize that. Now, if you can't remember that it's a vertical line, what I would do is draw a little table. I know that x equals -4. So no matter what, x is -4. I can't control that. But I can control where I put my y's. I'm always going to pick a -0 and a positive. So when I use those points, we have -4, -5, -4, 0, and -4, 5. And there we go. There's our vertical line. Remember that vertical lines go straight up and down. Here's my straight edge. And I'm adding my arrows. Okay? Now, 12b, we're going to do the exact same thing. Remember y equals, it's a y equals graph, so it's just going to be a horizontal line, and all horizontal lines have a slope of 0. Okay? You can also write 0, that's fine. Now, just to be sure I graph this right, I'm going to do the same thing. All right? I know that y is 7, so no matter what, y is going to be 7. And I'm going to pick my x. I'm going to pick a negative, 0, and a positive. Same thing as I did last time. All right, so negative 5, 7, 0, 7, and 5, 7. And just like we talked about, there's our horizontal line. Okay, I'm using my ruler, lining up my points, and drawing my straight line. And don't forget your arrows. Okay. Next couple say to identify the slope of the line through the given points and write your answers on the line. So, in case you don't remember, okay, here's something else that would be very good for your note cards. Yeah, the slope formula. All right, so the slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, that'd be great for your note cards. So, what I'm going to do is I'm automatically going to write down my m, and I'm going to add my subtraction signs. So we talked about that the y's go on the top. So that's going to be 7 minus 4. And then on the bottom is going to be 2. And since that's another negative, this actually changes to a plus. So it's 2 plus 4. Okay, so on the top, 7 minus 4 is 3. And on the bottom, 2 plus 4 is 6. And now we have to have a reduced fraction. Okay, so I can divide both the top and bottom by 3. And then we get 1/2. So what's our slope? Our slope is 1/2. Now, we're going to do the same thing for 14. Okay? So here's going to be my work. I'm going to add on the top, negative 7 minus 3. And on the bottom, oops, no, not the negative 7. 5 minus 5. Okay? So negative 7 minus 3 is negative 10. And 5 minus 5 is 0. So this is where it pays to have your calculator. Okay? We're doing negative 10 and you're dividing that by 0. There's an error. Okay? When there's an error, that means that our slope is undefined. Okay? You need to know that. All right. Last ones. Now, I forgot to mention this in the other earlier, but when we have our diagonal lines, we need to look to see if it's rise over run. That's going to be a positive line, or if it's fall over run. And that tells me that it's going to be negative. So, looking at 15, is it rising or falling? Yeah, it's falling. So what we would want to do is count how many were going down and how many to the right. Okay? And when I did it, I was going down 3 and to the right 6. Okay? So down 3 over 6, always reduce. That is negative 1/2. Okay, number 16, what type of line is that? Yeah, that's a vertical line. And vertical lines, our slope is undefined. 17, what type of line is that? Yeah, it's a horizontal line. And a horizontal line, what's our slope? That's right, it's 0. That's why it pays to memorize those definitions. Okay? All right, guys, well, that's the end of Unit 2. If you have any questions, please come see Miss Carranza or myself. We would love to help you out. Okay? So, that's the end of Algebra, Semester 1 Review Packet, Unit number 2. This is Mr. Grice signing off. Thanks for watching.